I spent 12 days in jail. And it cost me dearly. Are you going to say that I spent those 12 days in jail just because I lacked ambition at one point in my life? I know a few people's mouth just dropped open right there. I know a few of your mouths just dropped open right there. But this is story time with TJ right now, talking about ambition. When I was a senior in high school, I was raised by my grandmother, my mother's mother. My mother's mother, my grandmother, adopted me when I was 6 years old. Not took me in or raised me. She legally adopted me because my mother was not, I don't want to say she wasn't fit at the time. It was not a sustainable place for me to be at. So my grandmother legally adopted me. My grandmother has 7 children. I became legally 8. This includes my mother, all of her brothers and sisters, their siblings. These are my aunts and uncles. My grandmother raised, and then she also had a son that's a year older than me. My grandmother, and this is not a knock on her, this is just the reality and the facts of what happened. She raised 7 kids, 7 high school dropouts, 7 children, 7 drug addicts. So when I tell you none of her children made it past the 10th grade. So when I tell you that I was a senior in high school and my grandmother threw me out of the house after I got a full academic scholarship ride to the state university. Hold on a second, guys. Give me one second. She put me out. She put me out while I was studying. I had just completed my chores. Chores for my grandmother were brutal. She was a neat freak, obsessive compulsive about cleaning. And I'm sitting at the table, at the dining room table, doing my homework. And about 8 or so o'clock at night, her son, which is a year older than me, by the way, at this point had dropped out of school. He walks into the home with his girlfriend, goes into the kitchen, cooks steak, macaroni and cheese. This is so vivid because this is almost 30 years ago now that I remember this stuff. Cook steak, macaroni and cheese. And this boy ain't never cooked a meal in his life. When I tell you he cooked steak with flour and water, when I tell you this boy destroyed the kitchen, and then when it didn't work out where he's trying to impress his little girlfriend, he got up and decided that, we're just going to go to Burger King. My grandmother comes out of the house. Comes out of her bedroom. I'm sitting at the kitchen. Sitting at the dining room table. I'm doing my homework. She sees the kitchen. She turns to me. I need you to clean this up. And I go, oh, sorry, grandmama. Your son did that. I've already done my chore. My grandmother flew into a fit of rage, started screaming at me, yelling at me, throwing stuff at me, and eventually told me to get out. I didn't believe her. I packed up my stuff and went upstairs to my room. About 2 minutes later, she comes flying up the room, upstairs with a broomstick. You don't get out of my house right now, I'm gonna beat your ass out of here. When I tell you to get out of my house, you're getting out of my house. And I left. I had a little piece of car. I just thought maybe she needed to blow off some steam. So I just left. Her blowing up was nothing unusual at that time. So I just left. I went over to her auntie's house, my great auntie house, and spent the night. Told her what happened, spent the night. Came back the next day and was not welcome in the home. Middle of my senior year. Her aunties, her mother at this time was passed. Her aunts, her mother had passed, but her aunts, her mother's siblings got wind of what happened. They tried to go talk to her. They said to her, listen, no one in our family has ever made it past high school. This young man has a full academic scholarship ride. You can't throw him out. She did it anyway. Not only did she do that in high school, I lettered. I was an athlete. I wrestled, ran track, and then also in the theater. I lettered in theater and I lettered in track. I have no evidence, physical evidence, that I attended high school. Because when she threw me out, she cleared out my room. She threw away anything that remotely identified me as being in that house since I was 6 years old, out of anger. Mr. Terrell Key, who's a YouTuber, and I'm about to drop his link in the. I'm about to drop his channel link in the chat. Mr. Terrell Key, I told him this story, part of this story, and he provided me with his thoughts on what happens when you decide to throw out a young man that was on the way to change the trajectory of the image and the name of your family. Give Mr. Terrell Key a second, y'all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Terrell Key, and I am an educator, man. I've been in education for 17 years, man. I've served as a substitute teacher, as a teacher. I've been a school counselor, and now an assistant principal. And hopefully one day I'll be a building principal. But the reason why I'm here is to talk to you about the effects of putting out young boys early on in the process, man, especially when they're in high school and they're not quite ready yet to be out on their own. And, you know, now keep in mind, I've worked with both boys and girls that have been put out of their homes before. But a lot of times, like with boys in particular, and I'm not saying that it's all boys, because some boys develop quickly, some girls develop quickly, but everybody develops at their own pace and at their own rate. So just because somebody is more mature at a certain age doesn't mean that is going to carry for 10 years, for 15 years. And a lot of times, like what we don't understand, like when we're working with kids in high school and stuff like that, is that, man, like we're a lot of times preparing kids for down the road. So when you're putting out a kid, you know, like when they're in high school, or if they're about to go to college and you say, oh, when you're 18, I'm kicking you out. When you put those kids out like that, think about like the trauma that that's causing. You know, like this kid probably feels like they've done everything right. At least for the most part, like, you know, their job as a kid, which is going to school and learning and preparing for the future, right? And then they get put out. What are you telling that kid about trusting adults, right? Trusting people that are in charge of their care and stuff like that, man, you know?
This is a high school principal who's seen this time and time again. Real quick, y'all, I got to do something real fast.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
All right, thank you to Marie for the $15 super chat. I appreciate you. Marie, is it? I think this is your first time. I think it's your first time over here. I've seen you in other streams, so that's why I'm just kind of. But I appreciate the $15 super chat. You guys don't understand. I can tell you all the time. I get really like blown away when people decide to super chat and leave a few dollars, you know, at the table for the content. You guys have no idea how much I appreciate that and what that actually means to me and the channel and the encouragement to keep going. That is, I mean, come on. I gotta give it up to you one more time. Yep. And I got to drop a Theo on you for this one.
Bang! Bang! It's good.
So I appreciate you, Marie. Mona, yes, it's sad, but I'm getting somewhere with this, okay? I don't want you to be sad, but I'm going somewhere because I'm going to tie it into the topic to get today. So, anyways, I go off to college. And I was away for about a year and a half. And I was driving my girlfriend because my high school sweetheart and I, we walked to college together. So I'm driving her from my apartment to her dorm, and I get pulled over. This is about a year and a half later. And mind you, a year and a half later, no one in my family has bothered to try to find out where I am, check on me. They don't know if I'm in the morgue someday, I'm where, none of that. A year and a half later, I'm driving up Observatory Drive in Madison, Wisconsin. Observatory Drive. And I get pulled over. What happened next ruined me. I got pulled over. No big deal. Gave the man my driver's license. At this time, there was no proof of, there was no legal proof of insurance that you needed proof of insurance for. So gave my driver's license. The man ran my driver's license, and come to find out, I had a warrant for my arrest in my hometown. I am 110 miles away from my hometown, away at college. Been gone for almost 2 years, and I get pulled over, and I got a warrant out for my arrest. By the way, this incident happened 2 weeks before finals. I get arrested immediately. I had the shame of being embarrassed, in front of the girlfriend at the time. They take her out of the car. They take the car. They take me to jail. Then they tell me that they don't really have any real jurisdiction to hold me, but they need to call my hometown to see if they want to come get me. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm 110 miles away. They're not going to come get me. And plus, I don't know why I have a warrant out for my arrest. I have no idea. And the rest is in my hometown. Ain't never been pulled over. Ain't never had an interaction with the police in my hometown ever. Why do I have a warrant out for my arrest? My hometown decides to come get me. They come get me. I missed my first 3 days of finals. When I get there, I sit there in jail for 2 days before I see a judge, before I even know why I'm even there. I don't find out while I'm there until I see the judge. I see the judge, and the reason why I'm there is because there is 12 felony traffic tickets on my name from the nearly past 2 years. I was in Madison. The judge scolded me for missing all of those court dates and told me because I was disrespectful to the court that I needed to go sit down and think about it. And he locked me up before I could even say anything. I was locked up for 12 days. I missed finals, got fired from my little piece of job. Guess what happened to that goddamn scholarship? It was an academic scholarship. I failed all of my finals. Guess what happens when you're on an academic scholarship and you fail not one of your classes, not just one, all of them? You lose your scholarship. You lose your scholarship. You lose your job. You lose your place to stay. Ambition. That is my undergrad degree. That is one of two of my graduate degrees, masters. One of two. And regular old brothers aren't ambitious. Not eligible for FAFSA because I got F's. Had to go on academic probation. Didn't have a place to stay. Staying in my girlfriend's dorm room, which is all girls dorm, couch hopping. Had to go. I went and worked. I found a job at a hotel restaurant, waiting tables just so I can eat. I had to pay for a year's worth of schooling, at least part-time for a year, and get at least a B average throughout the entire year for the privilege to apply for reinstatement of financial aid, which I did not need because I had a goddamn scholarship. You ladies sit up here and talk about average earning brothers who are teachers, social workers, firefighters, human service professionals, and you have no fucking idea what those black men did to get that $50,000 a year job. My buddy, Mr. Life Lessons for Life, talking about that's a regular story for most black men. It absolutely is. He didn't lie. Some worse, some not so worse. After I got my undergrad degree, here's some of the jobs I had to get. These less than $50,000 a year job. I worked at the Urban League, which is a major civil rights organization. I worked for them for 10 years, and I worked in a program that assisted deadbeat dads in finding gainful employment so they can pay their damn child support. I took my college education, my skill set to help you ladies, your fucking baby daddies, to earn some bread, to put some food in your kid's mouth, to take the burden off of you. I taught basic computer skills class to senior citizens. This is all in conjunction with the Urban League. I worked for a workforce development center where I helped people with regaining their soft skills, displaced workers. These are your brothers, your sisters, your aunties in your community. I ran a GED program. I was the director of a men's homeless shelter. And all of these jobs required either an undergrad or grad degree, and I had to have it to make $50,000 a year. And when I made $50,000 a year, I never had it. Not one woman I was dated or was married to had I needed her fucking resources for anything. But you call regular old men. Joy, I love her to death. That was on my stream. We don't invest in ourselves. What the hell you think that was what I did? And my story is not unique. My story is common, and it's probably there are brothers out here who wish they could have went through what I went through instead of what they went through. 54% of black men are single, childless, and earn enough money to be considered middle class, and you fucking call them not ambition or lack or don't want to invest in themselves. The standard of living is not for Black men to be rich for the privilege of having a fucking baby mama for a woman. The vast majority of our women are baby mamas. I'm not trying to dog you. That's just what it is. And y'all got the nerve to sit up here and this 40-year-old Eboni K. Michelle go, if you look at the scowl on her face, to turn her nose up at a bus driver. No other group of men have to put up with this damn nonsense. I'm going to get into the money in just a second because y'all want to make this about the money.